even though there are some wonderful and beautiful things about dating, there can also be a lot of dangers. And two of the most important things that we need to be aware of are the emotional and the physical, the emotional and physical intimacy that we can have with somebody. Those are the two things that we need to be very, very, very aware of. Because I like to say it like this. I've heard somebody who is really close to me say it. Dating without that foundation, without understanding and thinking through what God has designed us to be in marriage, is like going to the grocery store without any money. You're going to walk in and you're either going to leave with nothing, or you're going to leave with something that you didn't pay for, that you stole, and that's not yours. And so we need to be very, very, very clear. And you may think, Connor, calm down. This is no big deal. I'm just trying to have fun. I'm trying to find out who I like and what I like in a person. And that's great. I would say date. Go ahead and date and go within the boundaries, obviously, of your parents and what they have allowed you to do and their guidance. But also, we have to be wise. We have to be smart about who we date and how we date. It can really leave us, again, leaving empty or hurt and having something that's not ours. And so what I like to tell people is this: when we date, we need to have the intention of, this is a person I could possibly marry. You may be freaking out right now, like, whoa, Connor, chill out. But here's why I say that, is because dating somebody is like, it's like fire. Fire can be a beautiful thing. It can be something that warms us up, or it can roast your marshmallows and you can have a good time. But that same fire can also burn you and leave scars. And emotional and physical intimacy are the two things I have seen that have hurt people the most. And so when we have the intention of dating for marriage, it takes dating to a whole nother level. We take it seriously. Now, I'm not saying if you date somebody that the first person you date, you got to marry them. That's not what I'm saying at all. But having the intention of, is this person the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with? And continue to have conversations, whether it's with yourself or with that person regularly, about those. Because those two ideas of intimacy, the physical and emotional, they're pretty scary. They can be beautiful things when done right. But again, like I said with the fire, they can burn us really badly. So with the physical intimacy, we see in Scripture all the time sexual immorality. This phrase, sexual immorality, that can make us feel kind of gross, icky, something I want to skip over. But it's not something that we want to avoid. Sexual immorality involves anything with like our outside of the boundaries of marriage. So that also includes lustful thoughts. That also includes things like pornography and masturbation and things like that. Those are outsides of the confines of marriage. And I know those are kind of, again, hard conversations to have, and they're just weird and taboo, but they can leave us damaged. And sexual intimacy and physical intimacy is something that we cannot play around with. And so what I like to say is we need to win the battle before the battle even starts. So we need to, whether it's setting boundaries or anything like that, we need to have those conversations first. Because like the Bible says in 1 Corinthians, it says that sexual immorality does not just damage the inside, but it actually damages our body. I've heard it and I've seen it so many times, people being hurt. Even just from a hookup, they've been hurt. I've heard it said too that you're not just having sex with the body, but you're having sex with the soul. There is something deep about sex. And that is why we need to be careful. The Bible says that we become one flesh when we have sex. So even if it's outside of marriage, you are giving something to somebody, and they now own that part of you. And so that's another reason why we need to be very, very careful. Another reason is this, and this may be the first time you're ever hearing it, but sex outside of marriage I'll explain it like this. Sex within marriage actually is like an all-inclusive resort. You don't have to worry about anything. You are safe at the resort. You can have it at any time. You can enjoy it with no anxiety or worry. But sex outside of marriage, it's like being in an all-inclusive resort, but the resort is actually a mirage. And you're actually in the middle of the desert, and you are thirsty, and you have no idea where you are. And so when we think of marriage, inside of marriage, we have to think of it as this awesome, wonderful thing that we get to have one day. Because I think a lot of the times we look at sex, and when we talk about it in church, we're like, no, stop, don't do that. And then it becomes this thing that is guilty when we feel attraction towards somebody, or we feel weird, like that I'm not allowed to feel this way about somebody, but you should. That's the way God designed you. God designed you to have these feelings. He designed us to want to have sex. He gave us sex. It is a gift from God to enjoy within the parameters of marriage. See, those parameters are not Debbie Downer rules that are trying to keep us from having fun. But in fact, I like to think of them as things that keep us having the most fun and allow us to enjoy this gift as much as possible. And so that's why we wait for sex. Guys, this is why we say, wait till marriage. This is why we say, be careful, because there's two ends of the spectrum here. You can have this wonderful, amazing gift, or you can get burned really, really badly. In a little bit, we'll talk about what that means if you have been burned. So please don't be sitting there feeling guilty if you have done something. And so when we're also talking about sex, but we're also talking about emotional intimacy. And this is one I know for me, I've been burned by. Physical intimacy was something that I was able to withstand, and I was able to wait for my wife till marriage, and it was a wonderful thing. But emotional intimacy was something that I was burned by. I let people in too quickly. I gave myself up emotionally way too quickly. And so I let people in. I tell people, my secrets, my hurts, my loves, I just let them in. And I'm not saying don't be open. Actually, I want you to be open. I want you to be authentic. But take it slow. When you start dating somebody, take it slow. They don't have to know your deepest, darkest secrets or your dreams right away. Work your way in. Because when we do that, we hand our heart over to somebody and we say, hey, here you go, you have this. And essentially, what we really do is we tie our hands around our backs and we're trusting somebody that they won't lay into us and punch us and hurt us. It's a really, really scary thing when we give somebody some emotional either baggage or something that has gone on in our lives, just something really, really deeply personal to us. Whether it's something about our family, whether it's something about us, our past, or our future, it can be damaging if it doesn't end up working out. And I know for me, that is what has happened. I wanted to move really fastly. I was so excited when things were happening. Oh my gosh, this girl likes me. This is happening. Here you go. And then it didn't work out and I was crushed. And that has left some damage in my life. And those are things that I'm still working through right now. And so physical and emotional intimacy are two things that can, again, be so beautiful, but they can damage us so badly. So Here's my advice to you. Here are some practical things. Here are 6 ways that you can protect yourself and kind of guard yourself from this and be smart when you're in a dating relationship. Number 1 is, obviously, we've been talking about this, keep building that foundation. Even when you're dating somebody and even when you get married, continue to build upon that foundation. Second one is, don't be alone regularly with that person. Meet outside, meet in public. You can date somebody outside of public. You don't always have to go to your room. Meet with a group of friends. Meet with people. These are practical things that keep you away from the possibility of temptation. And when you are alone, be smart. Set boundaries. Maybe it's don't lay on the bed together. Maybe it's keep both feet on the ground. I don't know. You know, those are things that you have to discuss with your boyfriend, girlfriend, and walk through that. But be public. Don't always be by yourself. Number 3 is this. Set the stage early. Have the conversation right away. Right before you start dating or right when you start dating. Share with that person, here are my boundaries. Here's my goal. What I want. I end up wanting being married, and I want these intentions to have to go somewhere. And so having the conversation early, and you might be saying, Connor, that's going to scare half the people away. And my question to you is that such a bad thing? You want somebody who respects and agrees with your boundaries and your intentions on why you're in this dating relationship. Set those early, because here's what I will say, that you will avoid a lot of hurt and a lot of heartbreak by doing this. Yeah, it might stink at first. You might really like somebody and you set those boundaries and like, nah, I'm not about it. But that's not the person that you really want to be with. So set those boundaries early. 4 is for you before you're dating and you like somebody, DTR, define the relationship. Do not play around with this. If you have been hanging out with somebody and you like them, have the conversation with them. Because what happens is when we don't define the relationship, when we don't know what we are, that's when slip-ups may happen. That's when casual things, not so casual things end up being casual, and we don't want that. Number 5 is process your reaction. So what do I mean by that? Process what it looks like if somebody is trying to, whether it's push you into something that you're uncomfortable or asks you to do something that you don't really agree with. So I know I've heard it many times from girls that I am friends with, how many times that they have had guys pressure them into having sexual relationships that they don't want. So process right now, before you're in a dating relationships or before that happens, process how you're going to react. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? And do it according to what God's asked you. And so doing this is going to help you, one, build confidence and prepare you for whatever is going to arise and when that situation arises. And don't assume that it won't. Because I've heard it way too many times of girls and guys saying, man, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, but it was just in the moment and I wasn't ready. Be ready. Be prepared. Process your reaction. And last but not least, by any means, stay clear away from the line. I have had this question so many times. Connor, where's the line? How far is too far? And I always say, I don't care. Just stay as far away from the line as you possibly can. So if sex by the Bible's definition is the line, stay far away from it. And for you, you need to process this. If you can only handle hand holding and hugging, then just do that. I'm not saying wait to kiss your girlfriend till you get married, but if you're somebody that is susceptible to it and it's really hard for you not to go to sexual thoughts right away when you're kissing your girlfriend or boyfriend, man, be careful of that. Understand that. I know plenty of guys who when they got engaged, it was a really hard thing, and they went from kissing their girlfriend to just a peck on the cheek. Those are the sacrifices that we need to make, because here's the thing, that sacrifice is only temporary. When we get married, man, it's all hands off. You get to have fun. You get to do all of those things with your wife. There is an end to it. And so take up your cross, sacrifice just that little moment of pleasure to wait for something that is going to be amazing. So those are the 6 things that I recommend. But for some of you, this is a hard conversation to have because maybe you've already slipped up. Maybe there wasn't somebody who shared with you, hey, you should have these conversations or thought through this stuff, and you messed up. And here's what I want to share with you. I want to share with you that, man, you are still loved. God still loves you. You are not damaged goods. In fact, we have seen throughout the scriptures, we see Jesus plenty of times going up to women who have messed up and who have forgiven them. In fact, there is one story in Luke 7:36-50. Jesus is asked to eat with the Pharisees, and this woman out of nowhere comes up to Jesus. And she starts pouring this expensive perfume on his feet and started crying and weeping and wiping the perfume and the tears with her hair on Jesus's feet. And it was a sign of, Jesus, you are so great. You are so amazing. I love you. I will serve you. I praise you. And the Pharisees, who are the religious leaders, look at this woman and said, Jesus, if you're who you say you are, you're this prophet, you probably know what she's done. She's a sinner, and she is a terrible human being. She's actually a piece of trash. And Jesus looks at the Pharisees, and he says this in verse 41. A certain moneylender had 2 debtors. One owed 500 denarii, and the other owed 50. When they could not pay, he canceled the debt of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon Peter answered, the one, I suppose, for whom he canceled the larger debt. And he said to him, you have judged rightly. Then turning towards the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I entered your house. You gave me no water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kisses, but from the time I came in, she has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she anointed my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. And what does this tell us? What does this tell us that we need to do? If you're somebody who has messed up, who has given in to sexual temptation and has just had a rough go at it, man, I would say do what this woman did and lay at the feet of Jesus. Come before him. Give him everything. See, the tears represent the emotional pain, the suffering that she's gone through because of the actions that she committed. She does have scars. These things have left her in pain, but she is weeping and leaving them at the feet of Jesus. And he has forgiven her of what she has done. You can be forgiven. You can be forgiven. But there is a reality that you have mountains to climb, that you will have wounds, that you will have scars left. But I will say this, that they can be healed. And you need to do what this woman did. Give everything you have to Jesus. Lay at his feet. Go before him. So if you're somebody that struggles with this, if sexual immorality or sex or pornography or anything like this is something that you struggle with, I'm here to encourage you that you can be forgiven, that you can come out on the other side victorious. but it's a day-to-day battle. It's day-to-day, and we need to come before Jesus. And we need to continue to build that foundation that we've been talking about since the beginning. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you guys got a lot out of this video. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on the Cornerstone Instagram page. Shoot me a text. Give me a call. I would love to have conversation with you guys. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with some things that you can do, some challenges and things like that you can practically do after this video. First thing I want you to do is write down, and I want you to write them down, 10 qualities that you want in your future spouse. Now, you can go as far as I want them to be really good looking, or to I want them to love Jesus with everything that they have. You can go anywhere in between. But write down these 10 qualities, and I would encourage you until you meet that person to continue to write down these qualities. I actually have my own that I wrote in high school of qualities that I want in a woman, and I checked them all off when I started dating my wife. And so I would really encourage you to do the same. The second is this. Read 1 Corinthians 6-7. You just saw the Bible Project video before you watched this one. We're going to talk a lot about 1 Corinthians 6-7 this week. And so go ahead and read that so you have some context and idea of what that looks like, and take notes, circle, underline things that you saw were important. Use the maps tool that we've been using so that you can process through the scripture. And the last thing is this. Pray for your future spouse. This was one of the best things that I have ever done when I was struggling, when I had hard times, when I was alone, during times of singleness, when I went through heartbreak. I prayed for my future spouse. I prayed that God would prepare her, love her, shape her, mold her, and protect her. And I encourage you to do the same. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. I can't wait to see you all. Enjoy this video. Hope you guys liked it.